There was a time when going to a wedding like this would have felt like an event for a completely different reason. So Dan and I have known each other since we were about 11 years old. We grew up together, same school, same friendship groups, same ridiculous nights out as we got older. We've got history. The kind of history where most of the stories would end with something like, "You won't believe what happened after." And if I'm being completely honest, I was usually the one without an off switch. Once I started drinking, that was it. I didn't pace myself at all. I didn't know when to stop. I was probably the one encouraging everyone else to keep going back too. I look back on that now and I can see how much of my identity was wrapped up in being the one who pushed for the night to continue. So flying out to Dubai for his wedding, just shy of a year sober, feels significant. Not in a dramatic way, I'm not nervous. I'm not worried about slipping up. I did the stag sober with the same group of boys who will be at this wedding, and that gave me a quiet confidence. But it does feel more meaningful, because this isn't just any wedding. It's one of my oldest friends, and this isn't just any location either. It's Dubai, luxury hotels, multiple events, a lot of people drinking. The sort of environment where the old version of me would have seen it as a challenge to sort of make the most of it. This time, I arrived completely differently. We landed on the Wednesday morning and drove out to the Melia Desert Palm, which sits just outside the city. The landscape out there feels sort of open and still. It's quiet in a way that sort of contrasts with the image most people have of Dubai. And standing on the balcony that first afternoon, looking out over the grounds, I realised something simple. The old me would have already been mentally planning when the first drink was going to happen. It's not because I necessarily needed it, but because that's sort of how I marked the start of a trip. Drink meant we have arrived, drink meant the holiday has begun. Now I don't need that signal. Remy headed off to the beach club with her friends and I booked myself in for a massage. A few years ago, I wouldn't have prioritised that at all. I'd have wanted to be wherever the group energy was building. I'd have told myself I'll relax later. However, being sober now, I chose to rest. That's the difference that sobriety has made that's harder to see from the outside. It's not about resisting alcohol. It's about valuing calm more than stimulation. That first evening, we went out for dinner with a few of the couples who have also travelled early. It's easy for me. Familiar faces, shared history. Most people had a drink in their hand, and I noticed something interesting. There's no tension in me about it, no internal negotiation, no voice saying, "You could just have one." That voice used to be so loud. It used to feel like part of the social ritual. But being nearly a year sober and having already done the stag with this group, there's a sense that this chapter has already turned. They know I don't drink. I know I don't drink. There's nothing to prove and nothing to explain. What I feel instead is steadiness. And that steadiness is something I never really had at events like this before. Thursday morning, I went for a nice walk around the grounds with Remy. There's something I really value now about waking up clear in places like this. In the past, mornings on trips like this were often more about damage control. How do I feel? What did I say? How much did I spend? Do I need to apologise for anything? Whereas now, I wake up and I'm simply present. After my morning walk, we spent the day by the pool. The hotel spa is one of those things I genuinely look forward to. Sauna, steam rooms, slowing down and just relaxing. And I can't help but think how differently I would have approached this in the past. The old version of me would have treated the pool bar as the main attraction. I would have been chasing that steady lift all afternoon, thinking that's what made it enjoyable. Whereas now, enjoyment feels quieter. It's in the heat on your skin, the conversations that aren't half distracted, the feeling of not needing to escalate the moment. Thursday evening was the welcome party. The music was on, the drinks were flowing, the atmosphere sort of shifts. This is usually where momentum builds. Weddings have a sort of rhythm to them, and alcohol is often the thing that sort of amplifies it. I watched champagne being poured and beers being handed out, and I was aware of how familiar this all used to feel. There was a version of me who would have been straight to the bar as soon as it opened. Not necessarily because I was unhappy, but because I associated drinking with sort of fully participating. Now I see something completely different. I see that participation doesn't require intoxication. I'm in conversations properly, I'm listening instead of waiting for my turn to speak louder. I'm not scanning the room for the next round. Remy's here too, and she's seen both versions of me at events like this. She's dealt with the nights where I didn't know when to stop. Nights that started fun and ended chaotic. I don't say that lightly. There were moments in the past I'm not proud of. Whereas standing there now sober, I felt something I didn't used to feel, and that was control. Not forced control, just sort of control over myself. Friday arrived and it was the wedding day itself. Watching Dan and Georgina get married hits differently when you've known them for so long. You remember the school version of them, the teenage version, the early 20 chaos, all of it. And I realise how much more I'm absorbing because I'm sober. The ceremony doesn't blur into the reception, the speeches don't half register. I'm not distracted by what I've had or what I'm having next. I'm just there, fully there. The dance floor later that night is full, as you'd expect. People are drinking, laughing, celebrating properly, and I'm in it. I'm not on the edge of it. I'm dancing, I'm joking, I'm having conversations that I'll actually remember tomorrow. There's no second version of me gradually taking over as the night goes on. There's just me. Saturday mornings where the difference becomes sort of undeniable. In the past, this is the part I dreaded. The subtle anxiety, the dry mouth, the mental replaying of conversations, wondering whether I'd embarrassed myself or said something I shouldn't have. Instead, I woke up clear. I went down for breakfast and I remember everything. The conversations, the laughter, the way the evening unfolded. There's no shame attached to it, no regret. And that clarity feels more valuable than any temporary buzz ever did. What stands out for me the most about this whole experience is how calm it felt. I'm not fighting urges, I'm not proving a point, I'm not sitting there feeling deprived. I've simply grown out of something that used to feel essential. Dan and I share a lot of memories that involve alcohol. Big nights, big stories. That will always be part of our history. But being at his wedding sober doesn't feel like I've lost access to that bond. If anything, it feels like I've matured within it. So if you're watching this and you've got something similar coming up, whether that's a wedding, a big trip, a social event where drinking is central, and you're worried it won't feel the same without alcohol, I completely understand that fear. I used to think alcohol made moments bigger, more exciting, more memorable. But what I've realised is that it didn't really make them bigger, it just sort of made them louder. This weekend didn't feel smaller because I was sober. It just felt completely clearer. And clear, it turns out, is far more meaningful than chaotic. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. It really does help more people find these conversations. I will see you in the next video.